All right. Okay, yeah, I am unmuted. That's good to know. So when I push my magic button on my console to bring the camera up, it automatically unmutes. This is the first time I've realized that because I thought I made a mistake every time. But it doesn't. It does it automatically. Isn't technology great? I love technology. And I got to tell you, I love Friends. Eric Kidwell saying, I love the intro music. I do too. We use Stream Beats. This is on iTunes. I love Stream Beats. And the great thing about Stream Beats is that it's DRM friendly. I never get in trouble streaming anything on Stream Beats. And so what's the artist's name? Hal Haller something. This is lo-fi-ish. It's probably considered lo-fi. I would be okay considering it lo-fi. Harris Heller. And so you can put Stream Beats on anything. And this dude, Harris Heller, I don't know, comes out with like 4 or 5 different albums of this a year. Like he's just getting this out and it's all out there. I have no idea how dude makes money because like he's not charging anything. He's giving it away for free. Somebody somewhere must love him because like he just keeps doing it. So, Digital Missionary Conference brought to you by Harris Heller. No, we're not going to go that far, but man, I love Friends, and I just want to say this up front. I was supposed to have a meeting at like 1 o'clock, noon, something. Actually, a couple love here on this. Steve Reed jumped into my open office at 7:30 this morning, and 7:30 Eastern, and he's like, "Dude, you don't look good. Why are you here?" And yeah, I looked like a wreck, and I sounded like a wreck, and I still sound like a wreck. I've not felt good pretty much all day today, and Steve kind of stuck with me for the hour, I think, just to make sure I didn't pass out at the console. But it was a good open office. It just I looked like crap, and it didn't feel real good, and just kind of that kind of has hung around with me all day. And I had a meeting at 1 o'clock with Stacy and El Michelle, and Stacy she was running late, was like delaying for a little bit in like 15 minutes, and she's like, "Let's cancel." I was like, "No, let's meet." I could use like a 15-minute break myself, and so I went in and I took like a 10-minute nap, and I jumped on that meeting. I think it was at 1 o'clock or at noon, I don't know, and I came back on that meeting with the two of them at 1:15, and they looked at me and they were like, "Oh no, we're not meeting. You're done." And so they benched me. They literally were like, "Yeah, you're not allowed to be in this meeting. This meeting is over. Go back to bed." It was bad. Steve is saying I look and sound a little. Yeah, I've had like a cold for 4 or 5 days. You know, I think since probably a week now. And I haven't been able to shake it. And Stacy is, yes, she own it. You did bench me. For what it's worth, I at least slept 2 hours since that meeting. 2 or 3 hours in the middle of the day here on this Thursday afternoon. To be honest, I do not have time to sleep 2 or 3 hours on a Thursday afternoon, but it's okay. You know, what doesn't get done will get done, and we'll figure it out. I appreciate, literally, I do appreciate that 2 friends stepped in. Yeah, thank you for benching him. Look at everybody's like, you know, it's all love here at the Church Digital, taking care of the workaholic Jeff, who's going to kill himself. I'm not going to kill myself. Some YouTube algorithm is like going nuts right now. Like the police are going to start banging on my door. That's not what I meant. But I do appreciate the fact that the friends did step in to bench me with this. Well, you know what? You didn't come here to listen to me talk about how I'm getting benched with work. You came here to listen and learn about the Digital Missionary Conference. Can we just give like a woo woo on that? I kind of wish I don't have my sound effects panel set up for this right now, but man, I have been wanting to do a conference for digital missionary work for so long. I have now. A lot of you have met me in the days of Exponential, of Leadership Network, of New Thing Network, of Stadia. Like, oh my gosh, I have done so many conferences for other people, and I've never actually done one for myself. And this is it. You know, I've done 300 and what am I on? Podcast. We're actually getting ready to publish podcast number 328 here in a little bit. I've done a lot of these shows. I know a lot of people. I had hundreds of conversations with people. My voice is cracking. That's how sick I am. I've had hundreds of conversations, and I'm out of coffee and water. I've had hundreds of conversations with people that are jacked up excited about digital mission work. We have dozens of partners we're having conversations with literally right now about digital mission work. And I'm like, for the love of God, can we please just get everybody together to get jacked up excited about this? I had a conversation with some lady found me out of the woodwork. Oh. Yeah, I'm excited about this one. She is virtual reality she runs a virtual reality. She calls it a fellowship because she doesn't feel like it's a full church, which is fine. But she does everything except the ordinances, baptism and in virtual reality. And she lives in Malaysia. Virtual reality work in Malaysia, and it's in Mandarin Chinese is the language she does this in virtual reality. She was really, what was working really well was alt space, and then she moved over to spatial when alt space shut down. And yeah, and I was like, how'd you find me? And she's like, oh, I read your book. Do you have any idea how humbling it is when somebody in the other side of the planet says, oh, I read your book? Like, I just was like, oh my gosh, first off, I'm sorry, because that book sucked. Like, I like that book, the Metaverse book was like legit for 3 months, and then everything shut down and changed. And so, but we're doing it. We're bringing people from across the planet together to get encouraged on doing work in digital, doing missions work, doing digital missionary work in digital and in virtual space. And I am freaking doing like just talking on here. There's so many people in the room jacked up with me. Tall Skinny Kiwi, I did EDM with him last night in Oceania. He's in New Zealand. He was making fun of my Australian friends a little bit on that, Kiwi. That was awkward, but woo. Flat Cap, I swear somebody someday is going to have to teach me how to read this code because I do not understand this code. I'm guessing it has something to do with Twitch because Twitchers do it. Here, we got Digital Ministry Podcast. My friend here in Africa jumping on here. He at least says something I can understand. Whoop, whoop. Flat Cap comes back and gives me the worlds. Okay, so at least I can translate that. I sometimes feel like the old guy who's like, get off my lawn. I am the equivalent of the digital savvy person who is the old guy saying, get off my lawn. No, I'm sorry, that's Kiwi. Kiwi is the old guy. Steve Reed, Steve, you're not that far away, bro. Once you actually get a better grasp of what you're actually wanting to do, you will be the get off the lawn guy. Eric Kidwell, excited to see him. He's been kind of hanging out here more and more, learning about some EDM. Might chat, lurking but might chat. Hey, that's good. Warrior of Light. Man, I'm excited about the stuff he's doing. Learning more about him through this. God is moving in the digital missionary space. Oh, Yatope, you're humbling me here. God is using your obedience. Thank you for that, my friend. Melanius is excited. Micah, the guy that wants to run a digital micro church is calling it a digital lawn. That's really funny. Like, just there's a lot of parallels in that. Oh, crap's being thrown down. Are you in fact true? Is this true, Kiwi? Are you younger than Steve Reed? All right, on the count of three, both of you put your age in the chat, and we're gonna throw down right here. Flat Cap, I don't have any idea what's happening right here. Like, this is in a whole other league. I am not cool enough to understand this. All right, so crap did get real. All right. I see you. Steve Reed says 65 and Kiwi says 61. Both of you are old enough to be my father. I mean, okay, Kiwi, that might be a little weird to have a son at 14-year-olds. It is possible, but I'm 47. So for the record, both of them are old enough to be my father. I feel good saying that. Yeah, Flat Cap does have the best emojis that no one can translate. All right, man, listen, it is, I am so excited. Yeah, it's mass emojis, Flat Cap. I have no idea where the bench metric is here. Hey, oh yeah, Jeff was humble and sat down before Kendrick was on the scene. Thank you for that. I do get that. Troy is Troy. Are you skipping school, bro? You better not be skipping school right now to get on this stream. We're gonna have problems if you're not in class, boy. Troy's a new friend. Troy is 18-year-old high school senior that's been hanging out with TCD. He does a lot of really cool stuff with the Holy Aces. Okay, and this is this group of guys that runs a ministry out of virtual reality, where they're connecting and with people and helping create some energy around virtual reality churches. And so if you haven't met Troy, go say hey to Troy. You've got Troy, you've got Dark Void, we've got Micah saying it's cool to see Troy on the call yesterday. You know, it's really I'll be honest, like it's like my kids hanging out with me at work a little bit. You know, Troy, my daughter's a little younger than you. Stay the crap away from my daughter. And my son's much younger, but they're in the same platforms and spaces. And so, yeah, Troy, if you play Pop 1, connect with some of these guys. That'd be fun to do. But it is really cool to see the younger generation start to get connected into this and to wrestle with this. All right. Hey, I got a question. All this, man, I love everybody on here. Who is this? The Peasants Podcast. Do I know you? I don't think I know you. This came on early on in the stream before we actually launched. And so I would, if I've met you before and I just don't know the Peasants Podcast, handle, let me know. Give me a shout out. I'm actually intrigued, talking about humility. I am intrigued what the Peasants Podcast, who this is and what this is all about, because I've never heard of that before. All right. We'll get into the stream here, I promise. The topic, Jeff's asking someone to stay from his daughter. Yeah, he's in another state. It's okay. And to be honest, my daughter, I told, we had a conversation with her last night. I think it was. And she's like, I told her, maybe it was this morning. I said, you'll always be my little girl. And she's like, Daddy, I'm 16. And I was like, okay, number one, you don't have your driver's license yet. And she's like, yeah, but I'm really close. You just got to like drive another 20 hours before she builds an hour resume to get the thing. She has to drive a number of hours in the state of Florida before she gets it, and she's working towards that. And I was like, and number two, you haven't discovered that boys exist yet. Like, boys are not on her radar at all. And I said, you'll be my little girl until you discover that boys exist. And the second that you discover that boys exist, yeah, that's when, it's going to change. And she gives me the teenage side eye. You dads, you know what I'm talking about. And it was awesome. Okay. Love it. All right, Peasants Podcast. Yeah, I would love to learn more about that. And then Flat Cap, at least I can see these emojis. Yeah, I don't even know where he's pulling it from. Like he's pulling a thread that I don't get. He is the savvy streamer, man. All right, so we're doing a digital missionary conference, and this feels a little bit like it was a last minute deal. It wasn't last minute. We've been talking about doing this for months, planning on it for a long time. So many things like EDM and other things that not gotten in the way, but just we're getting more attention, getting more design focus. And so, when push came to shove, it was like, oh crap, we're like 45 days away from this conference actually happening. What are we going to do? And so we hit the ground running to do it. And I don't know, man. I think we've got close to 10 speakers at this thing, and maybe another 25 breakouts that are currently scheduled. And to be honest, like, we're still coming up with ideas. By the way, for more information on the conference, we'll get more into it, but it's missionary.digital. Missionary.digital. You can check that out on the website, and you can register for it right now. The conference is free. It is an online conference, a digital conference. It is not in physical space. Physicality is a limiter for us. I'm literally bringing in a speaker from the Philippines. Oh, I'm sorry, from Malaysia. Actually, one from the Philippines as well. How am I going to fly in? I can't afford to fly in somebody from Malaysia in the Philippines. I can't, how are they going to come in? They can't come in, but you can hang out with us for 5 or 6 hours online. And so it is a digital conference. Now, some people are like, hey, this is confusing, Jeff. So I'm going to take a moment right here on 2 stages simultaneously. All right, so like some of you back in the day, I don't know if they did this at Woodstock. You know, some of you old guys like Steve Reed and Kiwi, you would have to tell me if it goes back this. But the rock music festivals, Stacy knows what I'm talking about. The rock festivals that you go back to back in the day, like there were multiple stages. And at noon, you would have the choice of going to the main stage to hear the main act, or you'd have the choice of going to the substage over here to hear someone else play, or you'd have the choice to go to the coffee house to hear so-and-so play. But there was one rock festival that had multiple stages happening simultaneously. And that, my friends, is what we are doing with this conference, with the Digital Missionary Conference. It is one conference that's going to be happening on multiple stages simultaneously. We are doing a digital broadcast stage on a platform called Alter Live. It's the equivalent of maybe, if I used to joke that if like YouTube and Zoom had a baby, that would be Alter Live. All kidding aside, like it's a digital broadcast. It's a webcam based platform that you'll be able to interact with, and it's not the main stage, but that's the digital broadcast that's going to be dealing with like that type of technology. The webcam and the breakouts are going to happen in there. And then the other stage entirely is going to be in virtual reality, a virtual reality stage. And that's where we're going to have metaverse and VR keynotes and talks. Like, I'm speaking on the VR stage to kick it off. And to be honest, the first talk I'm going to do in VR is actually, I'm going to do a town hall meeting exclusive for virtual reality ministries. And we're inviting people. I invited the lady from the Mandarin Chinese Virtual Reality Christian Fellowship. And I said, come to this conference, invite your leadership team, invite your volunteers. I just want to encourage you. And this was the word. She says, Jeff, no one understands what we're doing and able to encourage us. She said, you're the first person that really gets what we're doing, and it has encouraged me in years. And this is the sad thing. And what is even worse than that is she's not the first person to tell me that this week. I've heard that multiple times today. And so, yeah, we want to circle the wagons. We want to invite the digital missionaries from across the freaking planet who don't know who each other are. We want to encourage you, hopefully inspire you, give the ability for you to explore new ideas and new techniques, and empower you to do ministry. And if you don't know that, welcome to the new Church Digital. And so, yeah, we're doing one conference on 2 stages. Stacy brings up a great point, and I love it. The scheduling conflicts are ridiculously frustrating. But Jeff, I want to hear you with your VR state of the town hall. I want to hear you do the town hall meeting, and then I want to go hear what's happening on the other stage too. Can I be in 2 places at the same time? Well, I guess technologically speaking, you probably could. Like, you could be like wearing the headset. You could have like one ear with this and then one ear with the headset, maybe. Probably not. The reality is that, yeah, you're going to have to make some hard choices. That's the way it rolls. The fact is that we will be making, for anybody who registers for the conference, we will be making the videos, the keynotes, on demand available asynchronously. So you missed my talk in virtual reality, you'll still be able to see my talk in virtual reality after the fact. Okay, Troy Jones says right here, I am so excited for it. I'm going to be a good mentor here in this moment. Troy, no skipping school. No skipping school for this. Unless you get a parent's permission for that, then it's okay. But boy, I better not see you logging in on your phone, wearing a headset in the middle of gym class or whatever. I have no idea what I'm talking about here. But dude, don't skip school for this. It's going to be Tuesday, April 3rd at 11 a.m. Eastern New York is where we're kicking this bad guy off. All right, let's get into it. This is, Paul. Paul's old enough. This is school. This is school for adults. That's a lot of fun, Paul. Thanks for that. Hey, listen, we've got so many people coming in for this. So let me roll through some of the keynote speakers in no particular order. Paul, this is the best kind of school, Steve Reed says. All right, listen, we've got, I'm really excited about this one. Right off the bat, opening this up. This is going to be seen on both the broadcast and the broadcast technology stage. I got to get my hands right. Okay, this hand's going to be broadcast, digital broadcast. On the digital broadcast stage, as well as on the VR stage to kick off the conference, we are going to have David Nelms. Now, David Nelms is founder of a movement, a missionary movement called the Timothy Initiative. The Timothy Initiative aims at normal people with non-seminary degrees, and there's millions of people that utilize the Timothy Initiative globally. The Timothy Initiative, David Nelms indirectly. David Nelms may have been the first man to actually challenge me to create a missionary movement. I sat down with him one day over a decade ago, for maybe an hour, maybe half an hour. And I was thinking some crazy ideas about what would eventually be the Church Digital. And Nelms encouraged me. And it stuck with me. And for whatever reason, this man who created this Timothy, by the way, he told me David Nelms' son now runs the Timothy Initiative, this movement. Their goal this year, the Timothy Initiative, was to train 160,000 missionaries to be missionaries across the world. 160,000 missionaries. Could you imagine 160,000 versions of you running around, having gospel conversations, sharing the gospel, and doing discipleship level conversations? I mean, it's so good, right? And so David created this movement. David's the guy, I've heard him do the talk. Well, I don't want to give this away because I'm telling the story, but I've heard him. He went from a physical church building model to a gather on Sunday morning model. He transitioned himself and his leadership into a movement model. We're going to talk a little bit about why and the pros and cons of that and the benefits of it. I am so excited. I am so excited that you get a chance to hang out and meet with David Nelms. Other people we've got coming up, Jay Cranda. Jay Cranda is the digital pastor for the online campus pastor, I think is what his actual name is, with Saddleback Church. You know what I just realized? I'm supposed to have a guest coming on. Let me make sure my guest is coming on. Let me text. I'm going to text my guest. I haven't told you who my guest is. So I'm not going to tell you. I normally would talk out loud when I type his name. I did say his. I gave part of it away. Okay, so it's not a her that I'm expecting here. Let me make sure he's coming. Nothing like awkward space in a stream, right? Yes. Jay got a promotion, excited to see what God is doing through him at Saddleback. I didn't know that. I know he's got a new boss. I didn't know he got a promotion, so I'll maybe have to talk a little bit about that. But yeah, Jay Cranda is, y'all don't even know how smart that dude is. Like the stuff that he's even doing at Saddleback. I mean, Saddleback, the stuff he's doing at Saddleback at a 50,000 physical person church, literally doing mission trips across every country in the planet. Yeah, like Saddleback is the scratch of the surface of what's going on with Jay Cranda. And so I am really excited about Jay Cranda, him coming on. And he's going to really get into contextualizing and what that looks like at a global level. I'm doing a town hall meeting. Jeff Reed, we talked about that already. Oh my gosh, is El Michelle in the house? El Michelle, I'm excited about this in virtual reality. El Michelle is she's coming on as our metaverse, the Church.digital. We were actually going to give her a title in this meeting that I was stood up on that they benched me for. I would probably say she's our metaverse chaplain, because like she's really passionate about mental health, caring for individuals. She understands ministry, and she understands the VR space very, very, very well. And so she's going to be doing in Spatial. She's coming on and speaking on how to do active listening. We talked about active listening actually a couple days ago on my stream here, and how to do that. And so she's going to do a session on active listening actually in her talk, and it's going to start to coach others on how to do it. We're actually going to do like active listening exercises in Spatial so that we can learn how to do active listening, and so that we can apply that to our ministries in virtual reality. So excited about this. Matthew Neerman, director of Lausanne Research, is coming on. He's going to be talking. This is a dude that was responsible for Lausanne, Billy Graham's missions organization, been around 70 some years. He wrote the Great Commission report, the State of the Great Commission report, and it was a 300 page report about what God is doing, what the Holy Spirit is doing globally, what the state of the Great Commission is, going into all the world and teaching the nation, baptizing them in the name of the Holy Spirit. What does that look like across the literal planet? And by the way, 60 pages of the Great Commission report was dedicated to digital efforts. And so Matthew Neerman is a huge supporter of digital. I would argue he is actually one of the reasons that Lausanne is as passionate about digital as they are. He has been a huge leader of that. And so as we look at the state of the Great Commission digitally, evangelistic movements globally, what's the role of digital? What can we learn from that in a global space? We got Miharet, who's with Jesus Film. Miharet and I've worked with him a lot. He's up the road from me up in Orlando, but he's another metaverse guy, and he's been doing with Jesus Film, the Jesus Film Project and crew. He's been doing some incredible work with virtual reality in that space, and we're going to talk. We're going to explore what God is doing in virtual reality, and how can we be a part of it, and how can we learn from others on it. We've got my friend, of course. Let's do this. We've got Jasmine Ng. Jasmine's new. I'm really excited about bringing Jasmine into this. She is from, I believe, Singapore, and she is she founded an organization called CW3, Christians in Web3. The beautiful thing about this is that in many ways, she kind of stumbled into the ideal situation that we love to work with through the Church.digital. Jasmine, is an expert in Web3. She does a lot of stuff with blockchain and crypto globally through her other businesses. And her side project became trying to help gather together Christians that were interested in Web3. And what she found was she was actually starting to connect with a lot of Christians that were part of active churches, and then a lot of Christians that, for whatever reason, were not a part of active churches, because a lot of Christians that are involved in Web3, well, people like that often don't fit into a Christian church model, like even in Singapore and overseas, or maybe they didn't have access to a physical brick and mortar church. And so, Jasmine started to ask the question, how do we be the church for someone like this? And so we're gonna dialogue on this. We're gonna talk about this. We're gonna explore the idea of how do you do church in a digital community? How can you gather people together and then recognize the opportunities and the needs at a global space? So excited that Jasmine's coming on board. Then we got Dr. John Harris coming on. If you've listened to me do any interviews with Dr. John Harris over the years, there is a name in a book that Dr. John Harris, I don't mean, by the way, Dr. John Harris is African-American man. If you don't know him, he leads, oh my gosh, what's the name of his church? Hearts Like His, a Facebook group. His doctorate is actually in transformational discipleship. And so I want to stop here. A literal man, like a former, he was a chaplain in the military, African American. He's older than me. I say that he's older than me. His kids are younger. Maybe that's wrong. But an African American man with a doctorate level seminary degree in transformational discipleship leads a digital church on Facebook. And I mean, that's just an incredible story in itself. Like, if you really want to marinate in that. But what he does as in his interviews, his church is actually aimed at, or attracts, you can talk about chicken before the egg, unchurched people, dechurched. Story is better if it's true. Dechurched people that have walked away from the church and are now re-engaging via this Facebook group. And Dr. John can tell you plenty of stories of people that are de-churched, people that walked away from the church and are now reconnecting in as a result of Dr. John's ministry. I mean, literally, people that have never shared Jesus before are sharing Jesus on a regular basis digitally by coming through and being a part of Dr. John's church and being challenged in such a way. And so, but Dr. John, he always references this book, always references this book called, oh my gosh, where'd it go? Yeah, called Refugees, called Church Refugees. Church Refugees. If you've listened to any one of his interviews he's done with me, he always talks about this guy. And it was funny. I was actually trying to think of like stream ideas, like interviews. I actually, listening to him, honestly, I think it was Giving Tuesday. I'm listening to him talk to Ann Bosarge, and Dr. John for the umpteenth time references this book, Church Refugees. And I'm like, I don't know if it's the voice of God or not, whatever. I'm not giving credit to that far upstream. But I'm like, all right, I'm gonna find out who wrote Church Refugees, and we're gonna do an interview where I want Dr. John to interview this guy. And so Dr. John can like have a moment talking with the author of this book, Church Refugees, that Dr. John's based his ministry on. And sure enough, it's happening. And so I'm excited. We've got Josh Packard coming on this. By the way, Dr. John, Dr. John's beside himself. He's excited. Josh Packard, author of Church Refugees, is no stranger to digital mission work. As a matter of fact, Josh told me, as an aside, I didn't even know this existed. Oh yeah, hey Jeff, I love digital missionaries. We're actually working with the Pope to help the Catholic religion better understand how to utilize digital missionaries. And I was like, what? He's like, yeah, we just started doing some work with the Vatican. By the way, is the Pope okay? I have no idea what's going on with that. I heard about that a couple days ago, and I haven't kept up with the news. But literally, and Josh Packard's like, would you like to meet the guy that? And I'm like, yes, I want to meet the Pope. And he's like, no, not that. Would you like to meet the guy that's doing the digital missionary work? And so I did. He was in Dallas and was able to connect with him and WhatsApp. He's actually floating around the WhatsApp group. The guy, the equivalent of me for the Catholics, is going to be attending the Digital Missionary Conference. I'm telling you, people, we are gathering people together from across the planet in different views to come together, to be encouraged, to empower, to explore, to experiment, and ultimately to be equipped to do mission work, to do ministry work in bigger and better ways. It is so cool. I'm so excited about where we're going. Now I'm looking at my time, and I was expecting to see my guest right about now, and I am not seeing my friend, which is going to make this really anticlimactic if he doesn't show. No, I'm kidding. I can overcome that hurdle. Oh, good. El Michelle is telling me last I saw the Pope's condition has slightly improved. I mean, to be honest, whether you're Protestant or Catholic, evangelical or not, like it's a big deal. And any time a man is sick, oh man, that just feels like it's a downer. But you want that to be you want that to be resolved well. Interestingly, the Pope is pro-digital from what I'm hearing. So which is really intriguing to me. Tom, you can overcome most things except me. This is true. It's funny. Tom wears that hood in his photo, and that photo is legit. Tom, he was in a meeting the other day with us, and he was I think it was that same hoodie. And he had his head down with the hoodie on and the white beard coming out underneath, and it was like, oh yeah, that's some scary crap right there. Yeah, it's like you see that walking towards you, you go the other way. I really do. I'm going off stream topic here, Tom. But you and Stacy doing like a prayer thing over on what's his name's Discord, our new gospel dance music guys Discord, would be incredible. I would love that. Well, hey, this is just a little bit of, oh my gosh, this is just another crack. That's crack number 2 if you're keeping score at home. This is just the main speakers. I didn't even get into the breakouts. I want tickets. Digital Missionary Conference tickets are free. I know you weren't talking about that, but we will. I'm gonna work on my side to get that to happen. Scare it, boy. Yeah. He was not on my radar, and I heard. He in the class. He was really excited. He was like jumping up and down through some of the stuff we were talking about. We met him, if you didn't hear the story, we met him at Nazarene Theological Seminary. Scarab Boy didn't fit in with the rest of the class. He was the charismatic one, and the others were a little more laid back, let's just say it that way. And it was very exciting to kind of see his energy. It was an incredible session overall. I think there's like 4 or 5 of people from that class now in EDM, and Scarab Boy, man, he jumped in full both legs forward. So love that. Remember, Digital Missionary Conference, all this is free. And so it's available over at information and registrations over at missionary.digital. Now, here's what I'm going to tell you. I do want to get into the breakouts here in a little bit. We'll check on time. And somebody somewhere is not going to be happy with me, but it's okay. You cannot be happy with me. This information, we're not going to put the conference, we're not going to put it on YouTube. Like the keynotes and all that. Like we're not just gonna give this information away. Like if you cannot make the conference, or you can only make some of the conference, and you're not able to make the whole time. If you want access to the speakers, to the keynotes, you got to register. You got to. And so if you really want to hear, you're working that day, it's like, man, I'm not going to be available, and you don't register, you don't even get it on demand. Like we're holding this content exclusively for people that are registering for the conference. And the good news, registration is free. So you want the conference, you want the content, you can't make it there live and you want to catch it on demand after the fact, just give us the email address. Just sign up. Be a part of this so we can do it. That is right. Flat Cap is using the word that we need to say. This is an exclusive. And we want you to enjoy in the exclusivity. We've got Odom saying in the house, hello. Well, hello, Odom. Nice to meet you, sir. Thanks for coming in. Yeah, very, very cool. Yes, you can tell. We want there's exclusivity into this on both stages. The broadcast stage, the digital broadcast, register for it. Our online stage, our virtual reality stage and spatial, there's exclusivity in that. And so if you register, you can get both recordings on demand. And we've got, oh my gosh, we've got some vendors, sponsors. I mean, some of the sponsors we're talking with, it's going to be really cool. We're doing a digital, I'll go ahead and promise this. Barbara somewhere is going to be like, Jeff. But I'm like, no, we're going to do it. We're going to do it. I wish we had another month, man. Well, we'll get there in a little bit. We're going to do a digital grab bag, a digital, we'll call it swag bag. I think that's the right word, right? We've started talking with some sponsors and some Christian corporations. And it's like, hey, how can you sweeten the deal for this? We got a bunch of digital missionaries. They work digitally, globally. Budget is a non-issue. Like budget's a huge issue. They ain't got no money. What can we do here? It was so funny. Some of them made one organization made a pitch. It was like, hey, what if we did this? And I was like, is that the best you can do? Come on, man. You got better than that. I know where you're at. Do something better. And so it's going to be. And by the way, once again, hey, digital missionary friends, all this is free. What we don't understand is that there is so many people who are willing to support you in the ministry that you're doing. But the fact is that they don't understand or they don't realize. They don't. The work that you're doing at some level needs to be normalized. It needs to be translated. It needs to be shown. The stories need to be told in a way that others can understand. And so that this can become normalized. You are, listen, the people that hang around with me are the island of misfit toys. And I love the fact that we're as nerdy and as geeky and as dorky and as weird as we are. But at the same time, it's that nerdiness and it's that geekiness and that dorkiness is actually holding us back from being able to see this replicated because it's as extreme as it is. Oh my gosh, Paul Steinbrook. Maybe you could put Flat Cap's emoji to English translator in the swag bag. Paul! Thank you, my friend. I appreciate that very much. Steve Reed saying, no wonder you can't sleep. Yeah, this is true. I do. I'm going to confess that. I have one Google spreadsheet. If Google were to crash and I were to lose this one Google spreadsheet that's got about 8 tabs on it, my entire 2025 would go out the window. I would be toast. Right now, I trust Google more than anything else, which is why it's built on Google. It's in the cloud. But it's literally all of this design, scheduling, conversations, all of it. So, let's pray for XYZ and our Google friends. Listen, there's so much good coming towards that. I don't know this one. I've seen this one Flat Cap several times. I don't know if this means that I'm buffering or if buffering's an icon. So you're gonna have to translate for me at some point if that's an emoji or not. But I'm gonna hope for the best because everything looks good on my side. All right, so let's do this. As I'm still waiting for my friend who is now 19 minutes late. I'm gonna assume I got stood up by my friend, um, which is okay. Well, we needed to have a conversation. We were gonna have a legitimate conversation. Uh, Dude, download it and save it on your computer. I don't trust my computer. I trust the cloud more than I do the computer. And I had a Google whatever thing just pop up. Tell me I got a 4 o'clock meeting Eastern. And so I do need to land the plane. I can't go long. Hey, we've got a lot of breakouts coming up. Actually, the conversation that I wanted to have with my guest, it had a legitimate purpose. Like we were actually going to work out something anyway. And I was like, well, if we're going to work it out, let's just do it on the stream. It'll be fun to talk about it publicly. And so I'm going to have to meet with my friend later. This makes me sad. I'm not going to tell you who it is in case he comes on at the last minute. All right, breakouts. You know, these are some of the people that are coming on. These are the people that are excited about supporting the work in digital missionary space. Okay, Tom, I hear you. Whitebeard, the production guys. Logic makes sense. Okay, you know, at least have it in 2 different places. You're not wrong. Do it and just pretend they're there. I could probably have the conversation for both of us, but then I'd have to tell him what I decided for him, and I don't want to do that. All right, so let's do breakouts. Focus, Jeff. Focus. All right. Coming up, we got John Crawford. John Crawford is the partnership guy with Reliant Fundraising. Reliant is very excited. Reliant is maybe one of the most excited people I've met, organizations, about digital missionary work. They see huge potential in what you're doing. And by the way, John, if you don't know John, he's a really kind of nerdy, dorky, geeky guy. By the way, Flat Cap, I was in a meeting with John, and John's like, I didn't understand digital missions until I met Flat Cap. And meeting Flat Cap 2 years ago really opened this huge opportunity for Reliant to come along and support the missions work through the Church Digital, some of the stuff they're doing with Nerd Culture and others. And so Flat Cap, congratulations. You can own that. Hey, we've got Andrew Jones, Kiwi. I don't know if Kiwi's still up at whatever time it is, 5 a.m. his time. But Kiwi's on. He's going to do a breakout on being a metaverse missionary. And Nash from the Church Digital as well, our research catalyst, is coming on and talking about artificial intelligence in missions. Artificial intelligence in missions, how digital leaders can use AI to advance the gospel. That's crazy right there. Jesse Carbo, founder of Digital Missions Project, coming on, is doing a talk on kingdom growth hacking. I love this idea of growth hacking. And so kingdom, if you don't know what growth hacking is, Google it. It's safe. It's there. You can explore the idea using Google for evangelism. Love the work that he's doing. Stacy Knapp is doing a breakout. Stacy Knapp, chaplain here with the Church Digital. Grief care in digital space. Whoa, Tom, let's bring attention to this. Flat Cap is the first TCD person I met. Oh, in person. Flat Cap is the first TCD person I met in person. Interesting. I didn't realize that. I'd love to know, Tom, how you got connected to us. I don't know if it was a video or anyway. Yatope is jumping on, is doing from followers to disciple makers. Yatope from South Africa, our outpost leader out there. Oh, this is a fun one. I'm excited to see where this relationship goes. He's a local guy here in Miami, and he is Tom found us through Google search. Kiwi, it's 10 a.m. where you are? I don't, time zones I don't get. I probably should. You know what it is? I'm sure time zones are completely scientific and logical. Geography sucks for me. Like what country is where and where it is in relation to me and what country is where in relation to what other country. I used to have an iPad that would have like a map on it. Hey, Stacy, text, you know what, I'll do it here in a second. I'm not going to make that meeting. I used to have an iPad that was just a world map with like the time of where it was in there at all times so I can know what's going on because I'm just so screwed up on time zones. Yeah, Tall Skinny Q, we can't wait for your class. I definitely need to do that. Oh, wow, I've met a few people in person. Thank you, Stacy. for doing that. She'll understand. Kathy knows. This person I'm doing, got a breakout. Like, we're actually talking to this person about coming on the board with the Church Digital. So he's a church in town that I know very well, and they're actually supporting the church, the digital. The church is supporting the Church Digital, and it's the missions director, and I didn't know him, and it was like, hey, let's get together for a call, and we got together and had a couple conversations. And he started talking about some of the stuff that he wanted to do. And like, it was immediate. Like, he was so excited about some of the stuff that we were doing, and how it could fit into some of what he was wanting to do with himself and with the church, like him at a personal level and him at the church as well. And so we just kept talking, and we're developing the relationship here a little bit. In any way. Oh, by the way, this guy happens to be the chief legal counsel for Compassion International Global. And so we're really excited to see that relationship develop. By the way, my friend just came on, the guest. And so Kit Williams is doing a breakout. We're going to get to your friend in a second. I hope you can hear me where you are. Kit Williams is coming on to talk about legal. Is it even legal? What are some of the legal challenges from a global perspective? What does this look like even in different countries? He can speak into that, because this dude represents Compassion International at a global scale. We've got Mike Mirabel from the International Mission Board talking about the intersection of virtual reality and traditional ministry. He's going to be doing a breakout on that. Rebecca Bailey, who's with Hope Made Strong, the organization that's Laura Howe's organization, is doing a breakout on 7 keys to resilience. This is interesting. Dallin Allard, who's with Salt and Light, they do the Seedling app that we do a lot with. The Roman centurion and the outpouring of his spirit. I sent an email to this guy. I was like, is that what your title is? What does that even mean? I have no idea. But as of right now, that's what he told me he's going to do. We've got IMB, International Mission Board, is the Southern Baptist Convention. And so International Mission Board is tied to the Southern Baptist Convention. North American Mission Board is the U.S. based, the domestic, and then IMB is the international side. VR Tiger is going to be doing world building and evangelism in virtual reality. Simon Dirks is going to be doing From Vision to Outpost, launching a digital church network. Gabe DeWalk, a ministry that never sleeps. Can anybody else say an amen to that? Gabe DeWalk runs King's Tide and is probably, I would say, one of the top guys in async. One of the top Christians that I've met in async. Gabe, he actually used to work with the Church Digital years ago, before he got really popular and just kind of his ministry blew up. Ann Bosarge, lead pastor of the Chapel Online. If you follow us with the Church Digital, you know Ann. Crossing the cultural divide. Alina Delp, pastoring in virtual reality. Alina is the lead pastor of VR Church. Rebecca Bailey, once again from Hope Made Strong, model of care in a digital community. Model of care in digital community. And I still need to find somebody to lead the breakout. How can the Church Digital help me be a better digital missionary? And so if you want to lead that breakout, you can let me know. But hey, that's all the breakouts. In total, I don't know, we probably got 20, 25. My hope is to get about 25 breakouts set. And all this will be happening on the Altar Live platform on the Broadcast Digital side. All right. So hey, music is ramping up here a little bit. We are basically an hour in this stream. I have no idea how long I have with my friend here. Let me push the magic button and see if this works. All right, Dr. John, Can you hear me?
Yeah.
All right. How you doing?
I'm good, man. I'm sitting over here just waiting on the time for us to start, and I got the time mixed up, so I apologize for that.
No worries at all. You need an administrative assistant in your life, Dr. John.
Man, I need more than that.
Very cool. Hey, we've got Stacy. Stacy's encouraging Dr. John. We're excited to come in. Listen, I told him the story that I Yeah, now I see the text where you're like, I'm coming. Yeah, that's great, no problem. I told him the story that this idea to do this stream, this you interviewing Josh Packard actually came out of the Anbo Sarge interview that you did on our Giving Tuesday stream. Because I was watching you for the umpteenth thousandth time mention the book Church Refugees, and I was like, fine, I've got to
Yeah.
figure out who wrote this and set this thing up. Man, tell me a little bit for the people that may not know, like, what is it so much that resonates with this idea of the Church Refugees? Like, what are you pulling out of this book?
You know, one of the things that stood out to me was it's one thing to have a feeling based on your experiences, observations, but there's no research backing it. And so then to find a legitimate research by an expert and scholar that shows scientifically and practically why people are leaving the church, to what extent they're leaving the church, what they're doing when they leave the church, was really, really powerful to me, and it was validating, and I think not just for me, but a lot of other people. That's why I keep on bringing up the source, um, because there's not a whole lot of work done on that, and um, uh, you know, and it points to the opposite of this idea that people leave the church because they're mad, they're offended, they don't like the pastor, like there's very trivial, surface level reasons when what Josh identified in his book is that there are legitimate, deep reasons why people are leaving, right? Not wanting to deal with bureaucracy, not feeling like, I mean, getting burnt out on the traditional model church. Like there's all this stuff. And I think he really unpacks the his scientific method in identifying these people, the when, the why, the what, and in a very, very clear and powerful way that goes beyond just people's personal hypothesis or feelings or judgments, and he clarifies that. And so that's one of the reasons why I really enjoy the work that he put into that, and how that can inform what any of us are doing, whether we are in person with local congregations or trying to figure out how to keep people from being refugees, um, or those like myself are trying to reach out and minister to those people who've already left. Understanding the reason why is very, very important, and he lays that out brilliantly.
Yeah. To catch up, what book we're talking about, Paul was asking. The book is Church Refugees by Josh Packard. And so Josh Packard is going to be at the Digital Missionary Conference. And Dr. John, who runs Hearts Like His, a church that arguably is reaching the de-churched crowd primarily. You've said in the past, and so that's they're going to interview. Dr. John's going to interview and talk about the book and some of the idea of the de-churched with Josh Packard, not to be confused with, of course. Let's call attention to Steve Reed. No relation, Dr. John. Steve Reed. Dr. John, I just finished your and Jeff's book and loved it. That would be, of course, Sharing
Awesome.
Jesus Online, and you can
Yeah.
find that at sharingjesusonline.com. It's interesting. We actually look at that. It's off screen right now, but it's somewhere over there, right there. In our world, there
Okay.
is we just did an interview yesterday, not an interview. We did a roundtable yesterday. We had 10 or 12 missionaries gathered around talking about discipling, the de-churched and the opportunities and the challenges and what that looks like towards that. And it's interesting at a global scale. There's a lot of we talked a lot about the Ingalls scale, and I don't know if you've ever looked at Cru's audience map. I may need to text this to you to get your take, but there's some different views on like the topography of reaching people pre, before, post, and oftentimes I don't do like a lot of work in that space, but even as a leadership, we've wrestled with looking at discipleship. Like in my mind, evangelism was pre-Christ, that side, and then discipleship was post, once they found Christ and beyond. And I'm actually now starting to understand that discipleship is It's not necessarily a clean break, because there are people that walk away, or they stumble, or they get disconnected, and like, or even at a discipleship level, taking somebody from an atheist to agnostic, even something like there is no God, okay, to a point where there is a God, he just doesn't care about me. Like that actually is a massive step in discipleship. It's not helping them find Christ, but that doesn't mean it's a failure. It's very hard to get people anywhere up and down that line. Do you want to maybe listen, I do want to actually have the conversation, but I'm curious about what we're actually going to talk about. But do you have 2 minutes that you want to share on that? What's your take on discipleship overall, and how does it fit into people's overall growth compared to evangelism?
Yeah, I think when we look at discipleship, ultimately it's a relationship, and sometimes people vary, like what you're saying, on when that actually starts. So I think that discipleship doesn't necessarily just start at level one. So let's just say level one is when they get saved, right? So some people say, well, discipleship starts when they get saved, and you're discipling them, helping them become like Jesus. Other people say that discipleship starts at level zero. They're not saved for whatever reason, whether they are a staunch atheist or whether they are just whatever, just unreached, whatever. That's level zero, and discipleship can start there. I say that discipleship does start at level zero, even before someone is saved, because the relationship begins before they get saved. And so you demonstrating Christ to them before they get saved, that's a part of discipleship. Sharing Christ and I would say is part of discipleship too. But to me, it's not really a point to argue about. But I see the strong rationale for both of them. Both of them are necessary. Um, but I think that evangelism is a part of, I would say, level zero discipleship, because you're connecting with people, you're sharing Christ, and you are um, demonstrating Christ. But I would say this, as I'm talking this out loud with you: on the street evangelism, where there's no relationship, right? You're just preaching the gospel to complete strangers. I would not consider that level zero discipleship of what I'm talking about.
Hmm.
But if I have a coworker that there's a relationship, they're not saved, and I'm talking with them, I'm connected with them, I'm serving them, I'm using bless, right? I'm connect like they're in my pipeline. I would say discipleship starts there at level zero before they get saved, because I'm modeling Christ to them, I'm showing Christ to them, I'm demonstrating Christ to them. That's a part of discipleship, because guess what? When they do get saved, what I did before they got saved is part of their formation in Christ, right? So I think there's two different kinds of level zero. One is the no relationship, I'm just preaching to absolute strangers on the street, versus I have a neighbor who's unsaved and they're watching my life. That to me is where discipleship does begin.
Very, very cool. Evidently, you got white beard. This is the best Dr. John has connection Dr. John has had. Oh, that's connection. That's funny.
Yeah.
That's
He's
funny.
been tracking
Oh
me
my
for a
gosh,
long
he's
time.
taking shots. Oh,
But
oh,
for those
Tom.
that don't know, I've had
Oh,
Wi-Fi issues over and over in very significant moments of podcast exposure and involvement, and so that's what he is referring to. And yes, it's a new computer, a new Wi-Fi router, the whole deal. So thank you for noticing.
we did a extreme home makeover for Dr. John, and man's looking good. All right. Okay, so I think Dr. John, the reason I brought you on to do this, we needed to figure out, because I wanted to give Josh Packard a little heads up. Hey, Josh, like, here's what we want to talk about, with the interview. And so you're doing the interview, and so I was like, okay, well, I at least need to write the email. What types of questions? What do you want to ask Josh? What do you want to get into?
Well, when he wrote Church Refugees, that came out in 2015, so well in front of COVID, and he was one of the ones kind of pioneering, putting on the map the some of the reasons why the decline in church attendance and what Christianity was evolving to be. One of the questions that I want to ask him is, here we are 10 years later. Not only is it 10 years later, but now post-COVID, what opportunities does he see in light of the main premise of church refugees? That people, the idea behind a refugee is that you left a place where you didn't really want to leave, right? It really wasn't your choice, but you felt like kind of forced out. If you could have stayed, you would have. But there are factors involved that made you feel like the best thing for you to do is to leave. And so the idea of church refugees is really kind of an oxymoron, because the church is supposed to be a place where you want to go, feel belonging and connected. And so, but yet and still, here we are. So 10 years later, post-COVID, what opportunities are there for digital uh, uh, communities and evangelism and discipleship does he see in the digital space with church refugees? Like, basically, what opportunities do you see for digital outreach to those church refugees? That's one of them
Yeah.
right there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like I was saying earlier, I mean, you caught. I don't know if you know this, but when he was saying that he was working with the Vatican on this,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, he actually introduced me to the guy that's
Good.
doing it, and so I reached out to the guy, built a friendship. We've jumped on a couple calls together, and the guy's actually coming to the conference
What? Okay.
that's
Okay.
doing it, and he's this is so funny. He's like, yeah, the Pope's really excited about the digital missions work. I'm like, that's awesome, and he's like, yeah, but the Archbishop's not so much. And so it's like, what, even in the Catholic Church, there's a breakdown between, central and the field. So I got a chuckle out of that. It's always greener on the other side. But man, are there any other questions or any other thoughts that are standing out to you that you want to dig into with Josh?
Yeah, I think I'd want to know what, because when the book came out in 2015, we weren't really. I mean, COVID accelerated churches taking online more seriously, right? But when he wrote the book in 2015, that was way before that. So one of the things I would ask him is, what are some kind of best practices for for reaching this particular group online? What are some of their values? He just wrote a book coming recently called Meaning Making: 8 Values That Drive America's Newest Generation. And so he's talking about helping, especially in the workplace, help people connect with this younger generation who has different values,
Hmm.
right? The older generation feels like this top-down hierarchy and structure, and they're okay with that. The younger generation, Gen Z, is like, we don't really do the top-down thing. I want to know that we're partners, that we're kind of on the same level, and so there are certain values that I would say church refugees have. And so I would ask him, based on his research and his just observations, what are some values that church refugees have that I think would be a key for people like myself and others wanting to connect with them online? How do we do it in a way that's not, that shows a fresh approach, that shows that we're not resembling what they left and just repeating it online?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So what are some things that digital ministries can do to align with what those values are, and how can we shape our ministry to align with those values where we are connecting with them online?
Very, very cool. And so we're doing the Dr. John interview with Josh Packard. Probably, Dr. John, we probably got 10 other keynote talks that are going to happen through the conference. We're doing it on 2 stages, a broadcast, digital broadcast stage, and then we're doing another stage in virtual reality. And the talks are going to be happening simultaneously. Hey, I'm excited that you agreed to put on the VR headset and to speak in the virtual reality one. Man, did you not get that? I'm kidding. You're not going to
I
go
must have missed that email there, Jeff.
there. No, we're excited to have you on the broadcast stage and to have you do that. It's funny. We had a staff meeting Wednesday, and we were talking about discipleship, role of discipleship and evangelism, and how it's evolved and changed, and even like what how we're defining a gospel conversation. Because I had, just transparently, I had an opinion. I wasn't like mandating my opinion, but it was like, this is what I think, and I was moving forward in that direction. And we were in a meeting earlier in the week. Some of the other team expressed a different opinion, and immediately I was like, that's not what I think. Let me stop, and let's figure out like where we need to go. And so we had this at our leadership meeting. Like, we brought it up for conversation, and the group talked, and it was like, okay, all right, let's not go my way. I'm understanding what you're saying. Yeah, Jeff has opinions. Go figure. Whitebeard taking shots at both of us here, Dr. John Whitebeard is. But the fact came in, and it was so funny. Jason referenced this book. I'm not gonna tell you what book it is, but he's like, yeah. The author talks about it in this book, and he kept mentioning this book over and over again. And I was like, okay, okay, okay. And then I pulled up the book on Amazon, because I was like, I wanted to just go ahead and buy it for the Kindle to read. And I noticed who the author was. And the author had been on the TCD podcast before. I mean, the author, I engage with pretty regularly. And I was like, oh, he wrote this book? Oh, this guy's part of the family? Oh, hey, you know what, Barbara? The conference is in 30 days. We can add another speaker, right? Barbara, are you okay with that? No, we're okay with that. I just muscled that crap through. And I wrote the email like in the meeting. I was like, dude, I need you to come on this conference with me, and let's have this conversation. Let's rock it, and we'll see. What's the most frustrating thing is, when you're really excited about something and you send the email and you get the away message that says, I will be away from my email and will not be
Yeah,
checking it, but I will promptly check it when I come back in the office. Like, it was like the Tuesday, whatever. It's like, dang it. I
yeah,
got to wait on that thing. So anyway, man, I'm excited about, the Digital Missionary Conference. Thank you, Dr. John, for jumping on, and
yeah, absolutely.
for willing to be a part about it, be a part of it. I'm excited. I've been was geeking out. I was trying to figure out how best to maximize you interviewing um, the Josh Packard here, and to be able to set this up as part of the conference. I think it's a great opportunity to bring some exposure to the ideas at a global scale, and to move on. But we're going to wrap up the plane. Dr. John, I don't know, this isn't a full stream, but kind of. As we're wrapping up here, any closing thoughts on your side?
No, I just appreciate your vision for this, Jeff, and I think God has really blessed you with the networking abilities and these connections, and that's a big part of the how this is able to reach so many people. But there's quite a need out there, and so I appreciate your vision and your persistence in making sure that this gets the attention that it needs, as far as digital ministry and those possibilities. So I appreciate being a part of it, uh, and I definitely appreciate the opportunity to interview Josh. Like, that's just crazy to me. So that's a cool opportunity. I know, from our very first conversation, I've talked about that book because
Yeah,
it really launched a lot of things for me and made it all valid. Like, okay, this is legit, and so I appreciate that. And when I saw the email from him about what he's doing with the Catholic ministry and the digital, I thought, well, there's more to this than just me in this interview, but
yeah.
certainly some kind of connection there with you. So
Oh,
looking to see what
I,
God does with that.
I thought it'd just be interesting to speak to church. Then you'd have to apply, to the digital. But man, when he's like, "Oh, it's funny you say that. I'm just working with the Catholic Church on this." On I'm like, what? Yeah, I mean,
Exactly.
there's trends. There's this is gonna be like, in the back of my mind. Honestly, I'm like, can I get this interview more time? Like, is there a way to set? So we'll have to. I know you've got a tight. We've all got tight schedules, but we'll figure it out. But and I'm gonna quote my friend Steve Reed here. It's time to go get some more sleep, because I have been sick and I'm exhausted, and I'd be done for the day. And so I'm gonna call it right here. Okay, I'm gonna press this one. That is a lot of words there. Thank you, Dr. John from Stacy. for your teaching contributions to the Equipping Digital Missionaries cohort are
Oh,
impactful because they are clear. Isn't he good? Like he's just straight to the point.
awesome.
And,
Awesome.
and and
Appreciate
then you
that.
get me that is more like the the treasure pirate treasure map that you're weaving around all over the place to finally get. There's always treasure at the end, but the journey is the reward. Tom, quote of the day. The real question is, can you get the Pope on if he is feeling better? Um, I hope so. I hope so. No, I'm kidding. Actually, I'd interview the Pope. That might be interesting to see what he directly would say on some of this stuff, but or if it's his team. But I do, like I said, I do care for anybody, any human, and so would love to see him be on the mend here. But yeah, we're gonna wrap up. So hey, for Dr. John coming on for Digital Missions, the Digital Missionary Conference. This is Jeff. Go swing by missionary.digital, sign up for the free conference. 10-ish break main speakers, 25-ish breakouts and growing at this point, and more soon. More information here at the Church Digital. Swing by the website for more information, missionary.digital. Thanks, everybody. Have a good one.